On October 7, heaven just approved a sacred deposit into your destiny account, and Archangel Michael warns that ignoring this moment will restart every financial struggle you just escaped. And one friend already knows about it. On the morning of October 7, the ledgers of heaven were opened, and in the silence of celestial scrolls turning, your name was whispered before the throne. This wasn't an ordinary date. This was a divine timestamp, a supernatural marker in eternity's calendar, where the books tilted in your favor, and a sacred line was drawn across the seasons of your life. From that moment, something holy began to transfer, not symbolic, but literal, spiritual, and active. Heaven created what is called a destiny account, and if you've endured long seasons of lack, loneliness, emotional warfare, or a silence that felt like exile, this deposit has your name etched upon it. This isn't a promise for the masses. It's not a feel-good encouragement wrapped in poetic language. This is a celestial transaction, and the presence of Archangel Michael now at your gates means one thing: spiritual administration is in session. What has been assigned to your name is not just wealth, it's weight. It's not just opportunity, it's obedience. And heaven does not waste its wealth on the unresponsive. You, who've cried in secret, you, who have warred in silence, you, who've wondered if the struggle would ever shift. October 7 was your divine shift. But with divine deposits come divine instructions. Heaven's economy runs on response, not assumption. The blessing matures not in excitement, but in discernment, silence, and stewardship. This message is a sacred notice. Not everyone will understand it, and not everyone should. But if you've recently felt a strange relief, if the pressure seemed to lift just days ago, if clarity returned after months of confusion, if the warfare seemed to pause, you're already in receipt of a spiritual receipt. But it is your response that determines if it matures or withers. And here's where the mystery deepens. Someone close to you, a friend, a confidant, perhaps even a spiritual peer, already sensed this shift. They may not have words for it. They may not even know what they saw or felt. But they saw it. They felt it. Something in your light revealed the movement in your name. Whether it was envy, curiosity, or concern, your elevation is not as hidden as you think. You must understand this with urgency. If you ignore this divine moment, if you treat this message like casual inspiration, you risk reactivating every financial struggle you just escaped. Not because heaven is punishing you. No, because neglect is a form of spiritual rejection. God does not repeat divine announcements. Heaven rarely releases the same transaction twice. So now, listen carefully. Listen reverently. This is sacred ground. This is holy timing. This is eternal currency. Type "I receive this" in the comments if this word speaks to you. Blessing code 0707 is now unlocking over your household. Archangel Michael now stands at the threshold of October 7. He does not come casually. He does not descend without reason. His presence at your gates is not poetic. It is judicial. He holds scrolls. He holds seals. And he stands as heaven's enforcer, the warring angel who never arrives unless the balance of power has just shifted in the courts of heaven. And it has. For in the next 72 hours, a sacred deposit, unseen, yet undeniable, is being assigned to your name. The ledgers have been opened. The accounts have been weighed. And heaven has chosen this moment to deliver what was withheld not because you were denied, but because the time was not yet divine. Listen. Do you feel it in your spirit? The atmosphere has changed. There is movement in the invisible realm. Wings brushing against the eternal scrolls. Paper made of light unrolling in the throne room. Your name being read aloud by angelic lips in chambers no human eyes have ever seen. This isn't mythology. This is ministry. This is the supernatural administration of divine trust. October 7 is not just a date. It is a door. And Archangel Michael is guarding what now rests behind it. But hear this in the spirit. This deposit is not automatic. It is holy, and what is holy can still be missed. It is sealed by divine law, but vulnerable to human disobedience. Heaven has released it, but you must respond to secure it. If you choose distraction over discernment, if you rush to announce before heaven authorizes the release, the deposit could dissolve into delay. Not stolen, delayed, not denying, grouted. Because obedience is the only currency accepted in this holy exchange. Do not reduce this to mere money. This is not about earthly wealth. This is about divine trust. Heaven is funding your next assignment, not your next comfort zone. This is financial redemption, but not as the world defines it. This is spiritual equity. This is provision with purpose. God is not making you rich. He is making you ready. Let this land with force in your soul. If you ignore this moment, if you treat this sacred deposit with casual delay, the very same patterns of financial warfare that you just escaped will reactivate with increased resistance. Not because God is angry, but because what is unguarded will always be recycled. You escaped that storm not just by grace, but by design. You not circled back by disobedience. Only the spiritually alert will sense the confirmation signs. You'll begin to notice angelic numbers repeating. 0707, 1111, 1414. Prophetic dreams that stir your spirit. Conversations that seem oddly specific. Moments of unexpected opportunity. These are not coincidences. These are codes. Holy breadcrumbs leading you to the place of alignment. And remember, this word isn't for everyone. It is not for the casual, the curious, or the cynical. It is for those who have walked through the fire of financial drought and still dared to worship. Those who stayed faithful in isolation. Those who resisted the temptation to quit even when silence screamed louder than prayer. This word is for the remnant. This word is for the ready. So pause. Let holy silence fall upon your atmosphere. For heaven is not just speaking, heaven is transferring. And in the silence, something ancient awakens. Something that has waited for this moment to be fulfilled. This is sacred territory. Guard it well. Type "I am anointed" in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 777 is activating around your name. Something has shifted around you, and someone close to you already knows it. They may not have spoken it. They may not fully understand it, but they've sensed it. Velding. The atmosphere around you has changed, and your spirit has started leaking light before your lips ever confessed what heaven was doing. This isn't paranoia. This is prophecy. This is the strange discomfort that comes when your elevation begins to echo into the souls of those watching you, even the ones you never suspected were listening. In the past few days you've felt it, haven't you? A strange stillness in certain conversations. A question that seemed innocent but carried an unusual weight. A shift in tone, in energy, in closeness. That friend, that confidant, that person you thought had no idea what was stirring, they know. They might not know what to call it, but they felt your name cross into something eternal. They saw the light change in your eyes. They heard the reverence in your silence. Your spirit outran your discretion, and now their curiosity hath been ignited. This is the mystery of divine transition. The people closest to you become mirrors and magnifiers of your movement. And sometimes, without realizing it, they begin to watch more than they support. Their questions become coded. Their silence becomes loud. Their compliments begin to sting with undertones of confusion. Or worse, competition. And it unsettles you because you still remember when they prayed for you before they became suspicious of what God is doing through you. Listen, not everyone who smiles in your presence is at peace with your progress, and not everyone who calls you friend is ready to celebrate your fulfillment. But don't let your spirit fall into suspicion. This is not the time to be paranoid. This is the time to be prayerful. The Father is not showing you this to provoke fear, but to sharpen your focus. What you're sensing is called spiritual leakage. The enemy could not trace the deposit, so he began sniffing for your elevation through familiar doors. He didn't need to attack you directly. You only needed someone close enough to question you just enough to unlock your own uncertainty. But the devil is a liar. This friend's strange behavior is not your downfall. It's your confirmation. It means the shift is real. It means the oil is visible. It means heaven has, indeed, assigned something to your name that cannot be hidden any longer. So now you must discern. Do they celebrate your elevation, or secretly covet what heaven credited to you? It's a hard question. It carries emotional weight. Because the truth is, some people are assigned to your past, but not your future. And when heaven deposits destiny, it often disturbs the room. You've likely already noticed the tension in your atmosphere. An invisible gaze. A subtle suspicion. You walk into rooms and feel lies, but you can't trace the source. This is part of the divine test. The eyes watching are not here to witness your fall, but to test your stewardship. Will you stay focused? Will you continue walking in silence? Or will you attempt to explain what was never meant to be announced? Stay grounded. Heaven is not asking you to accuse anyone. Heaven is asking you to protect what's been placed in you. Your responsibility is not to identify the threat. Your responsibility is to remain obedient in the midst of it. What they know is not your concern. How you respond is what heaven is watching. This is spiritual tension. This is emotional warfare dressed as human interaction. This is where friendships fracture under the weight of unspoken revelation. But you are not alone. You are not being betrayed. You are being tested for the next level. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if your spirit confirms this word. Blessing code 1188 is now activated over your discernment. And beloved, as this word finds your spirit, I speak to those whose hearts burn for the truth, those who feel the fire of divine timing stirring right now. If this message is reaching you at the exact moment you needed clarity, confirmation, or courage, then hear me clearly. This isn't just content. This is a commission. A divine seed has been planted in your life today. But there are others, thousands more, who are still walking in silence, waiting for their moment of release. This is your chance to help heaven reach them. When you give, whether through a super thanks, YouTube membership, or a PayPal offering, you are not just supporting a channel. You are sowing into a harvest of souls. You are funding the river that delivers prophetic clarity to the weary. God says, I will open the windows of heaven over every faithful sower. That's not just scripture, that's a living decree for those who move when the Spirit moves. I feel led to say this to someone specifically. The oil on this word has already begun to unlock doors. Seal it with faith. Anchor it with action. Protect it with generosity. Let your support be a prophetic response, not a passive reaction. When you sow into what speaks to your destiny, you authorize heaven to multiply that destiny. This is not a suggestion. This is a divine instruction. The link to give is in the description. Woo with a word. Blessings await those who move with the Spirit. Let me now reframe what you may have mistaken for betrayal, because this is not about them. It's about you. This is not an attack. This is an audit. What you're feeling, the strange glances, the subtle questions, the emotional shifts. This is heaven allowing exposure, not for shame, but for stewardship. Every time a sacred deposit is made into a destiny account, it draws both angelic observation and demonic curiosity. It draws not just support, but inspection. And the inspection always arrives through proximity. The person who feels the change in you is not your enemy. They are your mirror. They reflect the areas in you that still seek approval, still desire validation, still crave explanation. But if you explain too soon, you expose what God was still sealing. And that is the trap. That is where many forfeit what was meant to multiply. Heaven is not testing your popularity. Heaven is testing your privacy. You must understand that every elevation invites examination. And not just from people, but from principalities. The warfare you've been feeling is not random. It is not emotional confusion. It is spiritual scrutiny. The very fact that Archangel Michael stands near means your name hath been whispered in places of consequence. Your name has come before the courts of the Most High, and now, heaven watches how you protect what you've been entrusted with. The friend who seems suddenly distant is part of this framing. Their awareness of your shift is not accidental. Their questions are not random. Your presence in this season is allowed, perhaps even assigned, to reveal your level of readiness. How will you respond? Will you feel the need to clarify yourself? To justify your new peace? To explain the favor now resting on your house? Or will you guard the oil and let silence be your testimony? And hear this, Archangel Michael does not draw his sword against people. He draws his sword against patterns, spirits, and spiritual mishandling. He does not guard you from others. He guards you from misusing the revelation. Because when a divine deposit enters your destiny account, it is not just to be celebrated, it is to be stewarded. What you carry now is heavier than applause. It is holier than attention. It is sacred, and heaven is watching to see if you will protect it as such. You are not under demonic attack. You are under divine observation. You are being evaluated for expansion. Not everyone could have handled this level of silence. Not everyone could have managed this degree of spiritual pressure. But you have, and that's why the deposit was made. But the next phase hinges on your response to this moment. This is the moment that proves whether your faith is louder than your fear, whether your discernment is stronger than your desire to be understood. This is the quiet testing that separates the called from the chosen, the gifted from the trusted. Will you speak when you should be still? Will you move when heaven told you to wait? Will you share when God instructed silence? These are not small questions. They are destiny-defining decisions. So, what is heaven saying now? Protect the deposit. Guard the gate. Refuse the urge to explain what was meant to be hidden until appointed time. The one who guards the word becomes eligible for the release. But the one who mismanages it through careless speech or emotional reaction, that one causes a delay in heaven's timetable. Let this settle in your spirit. You are not under attack. You are under audit for blessing. And every act of obedience is being recorded in the divine ledger. This is the time to remain composed, calculated, and consecrated. Stay low. Stay locked in. Stay led. Type "I am ready for inspection" in the comments if this word is alive in your spirit. Blessing code 1444 is now hovering over your discernment and discipline. Now hear this, and let every word weigh heavy in your spirit. Within 7 days of October 7, there will be a moment, a shift, a slip, a sentence spoken, an action taken, a glance that lingers too long. And in that moment, the truth will rise. Someone near you will reveal with their own mouth what they should not yet know. It will come subtly, perhaps wrapped in casual language or hidden in a joke, but it will carry the scent of spiritual exposure. That is your sign. That is your signal. Heaven is confirming what your spirit already suspected. The deposit has indeed landed, and the surrounding atmosphere has felt it. But do not be afraid. This is not a warning to stir anxiety. This is a call to sharpen your discernment. You are being entrusted with timing, with silence, with a secret move of heaven that is still under divine construction. And what is being built in you must not be announced until the scaffolding of obedience is fully removed. The blueprint is still being drawn in heaven's chamber. Do not speak what God is still sealing. You see, the enemy doesn't need to steal what you've been given. He only needs you to speak prematurely. He wants you to announce before heaven authorizes release. He waits not at the gate of your breakthrough, but at the gate of your imbos. He listens at the edge of your conversations, searching for the one careless word, the one emotional reaction, the one unguarded reply that cracks open the vault. This is where so many falter, not in faith, but in timing. They believe the word. They carry the promise, but they leak the glory by mismanaging silence. And when that sacred silence is broken, the flow of the deposit becomes delayed, not revoked but retracted, not denied but deferred. And you, chosen one, cannot afford another cycle. Not now, not after what you've escaped, not after what you've endured, not after all the struggle you survived to reach this moment of release. So take this as heaven's high alert. Within the next 7 days, someone's words will confirm that they've discerned what God was doing in your life. But do not confront them. Do not fear them. And above all, do not respond in the flesh. This moment is not about them. It's about you. Heaven is watching whether you will respond in silence or in speech, in humility or in haste, in stewardship or in self-defense. Because the one who holds their peace holds the promise. The one who keeps the oil under cover will see it multiply. The ink is still wet on your scroll. Do not smudge it with careless speech. Do not tear it by explaining yourself. The scroll was written for the angels to read and for heaven to approve, not for spectators to interpret. And if you rush to make it public, you risk spiritual counterfeits attaching themselves to something that was never meant to be seen yet. Even now, there are eyes on you. Not all hostile. Some are simply curious. Some are watching with genuine awe. But among them are those with agendas, those who measure your elevation against their expectations. And if you give them your voice too soon, you give them a weapon they were never meant to carry. So guard your tongue. Watch your reactions. Maintain your stillness. What is revealed to you is meant to confirm, not to scare. The exposure is heaven's way of validating what your spirit already knows. It is not to rattle your trust, but to refine your obedience. The enemy is hoping you'll grow weary in the stillness. He's hoping you'll feel the pressure to speak, to post, to share, to prove. But now is not the time to prove. Now is the time to preserve. Obedience will protect your oil. Discernment will preserve your name. And silence will secure your scroll. Type "I will not announce" prematurely in the comments if you're choosing obedience over urgency. Blessing code 1010 is now covering your words and guarding your reactions. You must now embrace this sacred command from heaven. Be still. Not in fear, not in doubt, but in power. Your stillness in this season is not inactivity. It is intercession in disguise. It is movement in the spirit while the natural realm remains quiet. It is heaven's language for protection. Stillness is your defense. Stillness is your currency. Stillness is the vault where the deposit matures. And in this appointed hour, the stillness you keep will speak louder than any testimony you could offer. Do not explain. Do not justify. Do not try to make anyone understand what heaven has chosen to conceal for now. The temptation to speak is a test. The pressure to prove is a distraction. But those who are truly trusted with divine wealth, spiritual or financial, know how to guard the oil that's been poured. An oil, when exposed too early, evaporates. You are not in hiding. You are in holy incubation. Your silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is worship. It is war. For the next 7 days following October 7, you are to take heaven's instruction with weight and reverence. Create space for silence. Not just quiet, but intentional stillness, where your spirit becomes louder than your mouth. Set apart moments each day. Mornings if you can. Midnight hours, if you're led. But make time where the noise of life is muted, and you return to the posture of receiving, not reacting. In these silences, heaven will fight for you. You will feel it, those strange waves of peace that settle on your chest without warning. The unexpected phone call that brings favor instead of stress. The absence of warfare that used to find you every week. These are not accidents. These are signs that your stillness is working. Because when you remain still, heaven remains active. Heaven fights when you don't. Heaven intervenes when you obey. And the angels are assigned more freely to those who know how to keep secrets until their season has arrived. Let your declarations be few, but let them be fire. Let them come from your spirit, not your mouth. Let your soul echo what heaven has already written. I am protected by divine economy, but as mine is sealed in heaven's record. I carry oil that shall not be wasted. My destiny account is guarded by angelic hands. Say these aloud in your private place. Whisper them when the urge to post or vent arises. These are your keys of stillness. They are how you agree with the deposit without drawing unnecessary eyes to it. And now, watch for the signs. They will come quietly, but unmistakably. A soft whisper in prayer that sounds like strategy. A dream that feels like confirmation. A sudden favor that couldn't have been orchestrated by man. These are your alerts from the spirit realm. They are heaven's way of saying, yes, you are on time. Yes, we are moving. Yes, the deposit is real. Remember, the enemy doesn't always show up with a sword. Sometimes he comes in the form of urgency. He'll try to stir your need to be seen, to be affirmed, to be celebrated. But none of that matters now. What matters is the preservation of what hath been trusted to you. What matters is that you protect the sacred with silence. You are not being passive. You are being prophetically still. You are not retreating. You are being repositioned. The stillness of this moment is your shield, and heaven is guarding what you are guarding. There is no need to rush. What has your name cannot be missed. What is sealed for you cannot be stolen. And what is hidden now will be revealed in glory when the appointed hour comes. Type "I will be still" in the comments if you accept this divine instruction. Blessing code 5252 is now sealing your silence with supernatural defense. You are not who you were before October 7. That version of you, the one who endured in silence, who carried the weight of uncertainty, who cried behind closed doors yet continued walking in faith, that version has now been elevated. The pain was real. The process was grueling. But the proof is this: you've been chosen to carry what others couldn't survive. Heaven would not have deposited this if you weren't ready. This moment is not just about surviving a storm. It's about stepping into spiritual mastery, where the winds that once shook you now respond to your voice. You've crossed a threshold. The old labels no longer fit. The outdated mentality no longer serves you. You're not asking to be rescued anymore. You are the rescue. You are the one others will now come to when they feel the chaos you've already conquered. You've traded begging for boldness. You've laid down fear and picked up fire. The shift that heaven enacted on October 7 was not simply financial. It was formational. You altered the very architecture of your identity. You are not just being blessed. You are being become. And who you're becoming has authority. Who you're becoming has rank. Who you're becoming no longer waits to be found. Provision now finds you. Where you once chased doors, doors now open before you. Where you once waited for a seat, now the table is being built around your anointing. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not left out. You are right on divine schedule. And every detour, every delay, every disappointment was not a denial. It was heaven's protection over your premature arrival. Because what's being released now required a healed heart, a matured spirit, and a tested faith. This new you walks differently, thinks differently, prays differently. You no longer pray for escape. You pray for execution. You no longer fear warfare. You discern it. You no longer panic at lack. You prophesy through it. Because spiritual maturity has become your wealth. Wisdom is now your currency. Peace is now your status symbol. Discernment is your defense. This is why you must guard the stillness. This is why you must not look back. The silence that once felt heavy now feels holy. It once felt like exile. Now it feels like consecration. It is no longer a tomb. It is a womb. You are not buried. You are being birthed. And what is emerging from this silence is not a weaker version of who you were. It's a weapon. A witness. A warrior. You are stepping into a realm where your name is already known in places you've never entered. Heaven has whispered your identity into the earth's timeline, and now provision is catching up to your purpose. This is the season where your yes becomes thunder in the spirit, where obedience isn't optional, it's ordained. You are a divine steward now, not a spiritual beggar. You carry what cannot be faked. You walk with a weight that cannot be imitated. You are not a follower of trends, you are a carrier of blueprints. So rise, chosen one. Rise in identity. Rise in posture. Rise in spiritual authority. Let the former things fall like ashes to the ground, because what's emerging from your life is holy fire. You've been refined in the silence, and now heaven is entrusting you to speak when it counts, move when it's time, and guard what is sacred. The shift didn't just happen around you, it happened within you. Type "I am rising" in the comments if this word ignites your spirit. Blessing code 3030 is now unlocking your next level of identity. Let the veil be pulled back now. Let revelation rise from the depths of heaven's mind and settle into your soul like thunder wrapped in light. Hear this clearly. The sacred deposit that was released into your destiny account on October 7 was not spontaneous. It was not last minute. It was not a response to your emotions or your good behavior. It was a deliberate decision made in the eternal courts of heaven, after careful review of your heart, your history, and your hidden obedience. This wasn't charity. This was promotion. Heaven has been watching you, silently, intimately, consistently. Not just what you said, but what you didn't say. Not just what you've done, but what you chose not to do. And when others rushed ahead, when others compromised, when others bowed to pressure, you remained. You remained in the furnace. You remained in the shadow. You remained on your knees. And because of that, a word was spoken over your name. A whisper in the council of heaven. Your name was released like oil in a chamber not built by human hands. And when that name was spoken, angels were dispatched. The ledgers were adjusted, and the vault of your destiny was opened with fire. This deposit is not random. It is seed for your next divine assignment. It is a sacred allocation meant to fund purpose, not ego. This is why you couldn't receive it earlier. This is why doors were closed. This is why every shortcut was blocked. Because your heart had to be purified through trial. You had to be stripped of every agenda, every performance, every lingering hunger for validation. God was not punishing you. He was preserving the purity of your purpose so that when the blessing arrived, it wouldn't bury you. The deposit is not just about increase, it is about instruction. It carries direction. It demands movement. It signals a shift from waiting to walking. This is the moment where heaven says, you are now authorized to build. Not just to receive, but to create. Not just to pray, but to execute. You're no longer in preparation. You're in prophetic positioning. And make no mistake, someone else sensed it before you did. A friend, a spiritual peer, a familiar voice. They felt the elevation long before it had language, because what was happening in the spirit began to leak into the natural realm. But do not fear their awareness. Let it remind you that this is not ordinary favor. It is prophetic fulfillment. What was withheld from you, mind punishmented with prediction. What didn't come earlier wasn't rejection, it was timing. And now, because your integrity has proven worthy, what was withheld has now been released. The scroll has been opened. The oil has been poured. The ledger hath been updated. And your name is no longer pending. It is active in heaven's economy. So walk like one who hath been confirmed. Move like one who had been trusted. Speak like one whose voice now carries weight in the spirit realm. You are not asking for permission anymore. You are not applying for favor. You've already been assigned. This is the moment when the heaven-ordained remnant walks out of hiding and into holy authority. Type "I receive my assignment" in the comments if this prophetic word finds your spirit. Blessing code 4121 is now surrounding your purpose with favor. And now, as your spirit rises in revelation, I ask you to pause and recognize this moment, not just as confirmation, but as a divine call to help unlock the same clarity for others. This isn't about funding a video. It's about fueling a movement. Each sacred message sown into the earth through this platform becomes a seed of fire for someone else's breakthrough. When you sow through YouTube membership, super thanks, or PayPal, you're not just giving. You're agreeing with heaven. You're making it possible for prophetic words to reach those who feel forgotten, overlooked, or spiritually bankrupt. Heaven says those who water others will themselves be watered. That's not just a verse. That's God's personal promise to giver. I feel led to tell someone right now, your act of generosity today will activate delayed release. Your support is not a tip. It's a trigger. It's how you seal the word in your life and make room for another soul to be touched. Let your giving be an extension of your obedience. Let it prophesy louder than your silence ever could. The link to give is in the description. Walk in power and sow into the movement that is awakening God's chosen. This is the moment where destiny stops hovering above you and begins to move through you. What heaven released on October 7 was not meant to stay in the clouds. It was meant to land in your hands and shift your entire atmosphere. But the release was only part one. Now, heaven waits for your response. The deposit has been confirmed. The scroll has been unsealed, and the oil has been recognized in the spirit. But now the question is this: will you activate what has been assigned to your name? This isn't about hype. This isn't about emotional agreement. This is about alignment. Destiny does not activate through emotion. It activates through obedience. Not a soft yes whispered in the sanctuary of your heart, but a loud yes demonstrated in your lifestyle. Heaven doesn't wait for your feelings. It waits for your follow-through. Every word you've received, every confirmation you felt, every dream that has circled your spirit is now demanding action. And action is the proof that your faith is mature enough to handle the fulfillment. Heaven waits for your yes, but not just in speech, in structure. Are your habits aligned with your next assignment? Are your relationships reflecting your next dimension? Are your boundaries protecting the oil you've just been given? Or are you carrying a breakthrough in your spirit while still entertaining conversations that contradict your calling? To activate what has been deposited, you must step into agreement, not just belief. Say it aloud. Declare it in your space. Prophesy it into your atmosphere until your soul catches up to what heaven already knows. I walk in divine surplus. I am aligned with heaven's ledger. I am moving with heaven's instruction. I am no longer waiting, I am walking. But this activation cannot just be verbal. It must be visible. You must sow obedience. You must commit to acts that reflect your trust. Maybe that means simplifying your schedule to make room for what God is doing. Maybe that means separating from voices that keep pulling you back into scarcity. Maybe that means denying access to people who still see you as the version God just buried. Whatever it means, hear me. Heaven is watching for action. Now is the time to serve faithfully where you've been assigned, to sow into what God is birthing, to protect your name from gossip, comparison, and careless conversation. Not because you're paranoid, but because you understand the weight of your new position. You're no longer just a receiver, you're a steward. You're no longer just surviving, you're managing a divine flow. And as part of this activation, I urge you to document this transition. Big pen to page. Write the signs. Write the confirmations. Write what shifted on October 7 and what God whispered to you afterward. Keep a scroll of remembrance so that when the warfare returns, you have written evidence of what God already completed in the Spirit. Your journal is your altar. Your midnight prayers are your offering. Your stillness is your strategy. No more passivity. No more delay. No more waiting on another word when heaven is waiting on your walk. Move like the oil has already been poured. Declare like the deposit is already working. Walk like the weight has already shifted. This is your destiny in motion. This is heaven's wealth now walking in your name. This is not a prophecy you hoped for. It is one you live. Type "I activate my destiny" in the comments if this word confirms your call. Blessing code 1999 is now authorizing your next level in heaven's ledger. What happened on October 7 was not loud. It was not announced with trumpets. There was no flash of lightning or booming voice from the sky. Instead, it was silent, sacred, sealed. While you slept, while the world continued in its chaos, while your emotions still wrestled with uncertainty, heaven recorded the transaction. The spiritual economy does not wait for human applause. It moves in silence. And in that silence, the most important exchange of your life was completed. You didn't feel it with your body, but your spirit knew. Somewhere between the tension of breakthrough and the calm after warfare, something shifted. Not outside of you, but within. Your name, spoken in the high courts of heaven, was written again into the divine record. Angels began adjusting timelines. What was delayed was reordered. What was stolen was recalled. What was scattered was gathered again under your authority. This was no ordinary moment. This was not mercy dripping from heaven. It was justice moving in your favor. And this justice came not with noise, but with holy silence. Because when the spirit realm moves in your direction, it doesn't always come with evidence. It comes with divine results. Some of you have already started noticing it. People responding to you differently. Rooms feeling lighter when you enter. Opportunities aligning without explanation. These aren't coincidences. These are manifestations of the invisible exchange. Archangel Michael stood over that moment, not to make a scene, but to enforce the transaction. His sword was not drawn in warfare, but in approval. He guarded what was being transferred to you, not just as a heavenly messenger, but as heaven's military command. He stood over the ledger as your name was confirmed. He stood over the scroll as your purpose was signed in fire. And then he stepped back not because his work was done, but because your obedience began. What you've been sensing isn't imagination. It's impact. Your spirit felt the shift before your mind could name it. That's why you've been restless. That's why certain things no longer satisfy. That's why conversations you used to enjoy now feel weightless. Because your dimension has changed. Because you are now carrying the residue of a holy transfer. And I need you to know this. Nothing lost was truly lost. That was being divinely relocated to your account. Every delay, every loss, every moment where it felt like God was silent. It was never absence. It was adjustment. It was relocation. It was heaven organizing your inheritance behind the veil, where the enemy couldn't touch it and even you couldn't sabotage it with premature movement. Some of you feel like you missed it, but let me prophesy to your doubt. You didn't miss anything. You are right on time. You are right on track. What was taken has now been timed. What felt like rejection has become redirection. And what was withheld has now been rightly assigned. This exchange in the spirit was not made public because it was not meant for spectators. It was meant for stewards. And now you must walk like one who has been given what others only pray for. Speak as one who had been entrusted. Move like one who has seen behind the veil. You are not guessing anymore. You are guarding. You are not asking anymore. You are administering. Heaven has confirmed your name. The scroll has been updated. The oil has been poured. Now the question is, will you carry it with reverence, or will you chase recognition? Choose the reverent path. Choose the silent road. That is where the glory remains. Type "I honor the silent exchange" in the comments if you receive this with reverence. Blessing code 4646 is now covering your steps in divine secrecy and strength. There comes a time in the journey of the chosen when heaven declares, enough. Enough delay. Enough warfare. Enough wandering in cycles of lack and misunderstanding. A time has come. And what was declared over your name on October 7 was not just a deposit. It was a decree of spiritual justice. The scales have shifted. What was once withheld is now released. What was once buried is now rising. What was once mocked is now being magnified under heaven's authority. Every wrong turn, every denied opportunity, every betrayal and closed door, none of it was wasted. None of it was missed. Heaven saw it all. And not one tear you cried in secret. Not one prayer you groaned in silence. Not one step you took in faith went unnoticed. They became receipts in the courts of justice. And now the judge has ruled. This isn't emotional encouragement. This is a divine reversal in progress. Yes, they laughed. They called you unstable. They said you were always almost there, but never quite made it. They measured you by your struggle and labeled you according to your delays. But they didn't know that your struggle was not your sentence. It was your schooling. They didn't know that the silence surrounding your name was not absence. It was heaven hiding the oil until the right time. And now, the time has come. And God will not let your name be tied to shame anymore. This reversal will not be loud, but it will be undeniable. You won't have to make announcements. Your life will speak. Your alignment will testify. The peace that floods your space will expose the war that tried to take you out. The favor that starts following you will leave others speechless, not because you chased it, but because you endured until it located you. What you once owed, you will now own. What once enslaved you financially, emotionally, or spiritually will now bow under the authority of the blessing you carry. That is turning to dominion. Struggle is turning to surplus. Confusion is turning to clarity. The same places where you were dismissed will now call for you by name. The same ones who overlooked you will now seek your wisdom. Heaven is balancing the scales in your favor. You are not being repaid with human reward. You are being restored through divine record. The reversal is holy. The justice is righteous. And God is not just fixing your story. He's rewriting how the world reads you. So don't gloat. Don't seek revenge. Don't waste your energy on proving anything. This is not about personal vindication. This is about prophetic restoration. And it will happen without you lifting a single finger. Heaven has already moved. Your only task now is to continue walking in obedience, humility, and holiness. Let this settle in your spirit. Justice is already moving in silence. You don't have to announce your comeback. You don't have to defend your name. You don't have to fix the narratives people built around your former season. Victory will speak for itself. The same mouths that questioned your anointing will soon confirm it. Not because you convinced them, but because the fruit of obedience cannot be denied. And so I say to you now, as heaven whispers through the winds of reversal, stand tall. Do not explain. Do not shrink. You are not the same. You are walking in the evidence of heaven's justice. You are clothed in the garments of divine reversal. And what tried to bury you has now become the soil for your supernatural growth. Type "Heaven is my defender" in the comments if this divine reversal belongs to you. Blessing code 7474 is now authorizing justice over your past and overflow into your future. And now, as the scroll comes to a close, let it be known in the heavens and upon the earth. What was deposited into your destiny account on October 7 has been sealed by fire, confirmed by silence, and activated by your obedience. You are no longer living in the shadows of lack, delay, or confusion. The weight of your warfare has been lifted. The testing of your tongue has been completed. And now, you stand not as one who is waiting, but as one who is walking in divine appointment. Let your spirit rest in this truth. Heaven's deposit is sealed. It will not be stolen. It will not be lost. It will not return void. Your role now is simple, but sacred. Your obedience activates it. Your silence preserves it. Your discernment multiplies it. And your daily surrender ensures it will never be wasted. So I speak this final blessing over you. May the ledgers of heaven remain open over your name. May the oil upon your life remain untouched by corruption. May the voice of the Holy Spirit rise above every distraction. May the deposit you've received become the foundation for legacy, not just breakthrough. You are not in survival. You are now in stewardship. You are not hoping anymore. You are older. You are not waiting. You are walking. You have been seen. You have been selected. And now, you are being sent. Walk with confidence. Move in stillness. Speak with wisdom. And guard this moment with everything in you. For moments like this do not return. This is not just a good word. This is a holy decree. This is not just an emotional lift. This is a prophetic announcement. Let the heavens bear witness that you heard and responded. Let the angels record that you received and obeyed. And let your future testify that October 7 was not just a date. It was your divine turning point. Type "I am sealed" and sent in the comments if this final blessing rests on your spirit. Blessing code 8888 is now surrounding your new season with heaven's irreversible favor. And if this word has marked you, if your soul feels aligned, confirmed, and charged, then I invite you not just to receive, but to respond. Every word released is a seed, and every seed that bears fruit must be sown again. This prophetic message will reach thousands more who are on the edge of giving up, unless we take it and plant it deeper into the earth. That's where you come in. When you support this mission through YouTube membership, Super Thanks, or PayPal, you are not just donating. You are activating destiny for someone else. You are making it possible for heaven's voice to echo into forgotten places. As you've been blessed, now become a blessing. As the word has found you, now let it find another. The same anointing that met you today will multiply in every life your giving touches. This is sacred ground. If you feel the pull, move with it. Don't delay. Sow into the move of God. The PayPal link is in the description below. Your generosity is not an offering to man. It is a response to heaven. Let's continue shaking the nations, one soul, one seed, one prophetic word at a time.